and I was, surprised to find that there's very little content out there.
At that time, Ethereum was just starting up. Public blockchains are the big thing, right? These are the people who are solving the problem. Why are there so much scrutiny for only crypto?
Hey guys, welcome to one more interesting episode of Stories with Kam and Jun. As usual, here are your hosts, Arjun.
Kamakshi.
And today we have a very, very interesting episode lined up for all of you. So, when people talk about Bangalore, right, they normally talk about tech, Silicon Valley of India, so on and so forth. So, we are going to be talking to a person related to blockchain, emerging tech, and one of the leading lights in the legal in the legal aspects of blockchain, right? So today we have with us Atif, who is also a dear friend, and Atif's a partner at Hash Legal, and which is a tech law firm, and also he runs his own tech startup called Teach and Law Academy, which is bridging the gap between law and tech. Right? Am I right,
Yes,
Atif?
yes.
Or is there anything more to add?
Yeah, that's about it.
That's
Thanks,
about it.
thanks,
Yeah. So
Arjun.
Yeah.
welcome Atif. Clap, clap, clap.
Yes.
He's a very interesting person and also very in a very interesting profession because everybody is scared of lawyers, everybody is scared of doctors. So and that too, especially in the crypto space, people should be worried, people
Yeah.
should be scared, and they should comply to laws when they
Yeah.
are transacting or even using anything to do with blockchain. So, welcome, Atif. I think this episode is going to be very interesting
Thank
and
you.
welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. You've got a
Yeah.
beautiful house, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for coming and
My
making
pleasure.
this happen. Right. Although it was last moment, I kind of just pinged you and you
No,
accepted.
I'm very happy
He's
to be
very
here.
kind. He's very
Yeah,
kind.
man, extra kind.
Yeah.
So
Very happy to be here.
yeah, man. So she I think said it right. Right. People are afraid of this whole lawyer business, doctor business, and all of that. So first of all, why get into law that talks about emerging tech? Why? What? Where? What's the need for that?
Okay. Yeah, so mine was basically I was always interested in the tech side of things, right? So even before I decided to become a lawyer when I was like in school, I was always trying to understand, tech, and I was very into like all of the new developments that were coming with like computers and systems and all of that, right? So that was something that I was always fascinated with. But of course, then I got into law school, and then you sort of decide to do like a one career path. So you're like, okay, when I get in, I'm going to become a litigator or whatever. And that was the fascination that I had for a while, right? So once I got done with law school, I decided to go into that. I became like a litigator. I was working in the Madras High Court, and I was doing that for a couple of years. And then of course the pandemic hit, right? I think, and that is also a jump off point for a lot of people, to get into this space, right? I mean, I would love to hear your stories as well, but so for me it was that then it just like really slowed down where I was working like whatever, like 80, 90 work hour weeks. And I was just like, at the end of the week, I'm just like, I don't really know if this is for me, right? So then, I got to a point where I'm like, got to slow down a bit because the pandemic, everything shut down, you're at home, you have time on your hands. And then I was like, okay, so then, the NFT boom just sort of started, right? So I
Okay.
was sort of very early. My jump off point was, so I'm really into basketball. So,
Okay.
so I was listening to this podcast that was talking about basketball NFTs, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that was
Yeah.
my starting off point where I'm like, okay, this is fascinating.
Was
What
this
is
so rare?
this, right?
Was this so rare? The project was so rare?
Yes, it
Okay.
was. It was part of it was Top Shot, right?
Oh, it was
NBA,
Top Shot
NBA
NBA.
Top Shot,
Correct,
right?
correct.
The guys who made the CryptoKitties
Yeah, yeah,
initially,
yeah, yeah.
they're
Correct.
the same ones who came up with NBA Top Shot. So then I put in some money, and like 2 days later it doubled, right? And I'm like, oh shit, this is what gambling fees. No, but I'm kidding. But right. So then I was fascinated by the tech, and I was trying to understand. So what the hell is this, right? What are NFTs? What are crypto? Why are people going so crazy about it? Like, and because I was pretty early. I got into a lot of communities that were discussing about it, and that was, the time when they weren't like all these scammers and stuff, right? Like people were actually there
Genuine.
to understand what the tech is, and it was such a positive, beautiful place to be in,
Mhm.
right? And I made a lot of friends who are still friends to this day as part of like those, early communities, and invested in some very interesting projects, right? So that's how I got into it, right? And then I realized that as a lawyer, my proclivity for understanding like where this is going with regards to the regulations sort of came out. And then I was like, I really want to see what's there. And I tried looking, and and I was, surprised to find that there's very little content out there
That's
in
true.
like the sort of, the emerging tech, this blockchain space and law, right? And I realized that given, the effect it has on like financial systems, the how it's sort of upturning a lot of how the government thinks of like
Right.
monetary policy
Yep.
regulations and all of that. So I felt like there was obviously a point of time when like regulations would come down very heavy, as we're seeing now, right? In 2 short years, in fact, people think it's a long time, but from a regulations law perspective, 2 years is nothing, right? It's like things take decades, right? So
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
like how long, our monetary policy is taken to come, and our financial system has taken to come to such a point now where it's regulated, right? And
At least there's some legal binding saying that you
right,
have to pay your
Yeah.
taxes for crypto, right?
right.
I
So
So
think the
that's it
moment
there.
they put that 30%, it kind of gave an idea of to the people that it exists. Before
Mm.
that, it was just everybody was transacting, but it was under the hood. It was an open secret. But now, the moment they put tax,
yeah.
people said, okay, government recognizes
Yeah,
it.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So things like that, right? So I realized that okay, there's this, it will come up soon, and I wanted to explore it, right? So that's basically how I got into it, and then I sort of shifted from doing your litigation. So I joined one of the leading like tech law firms based out of Bangalore, and I was very fortunate to work with some great people there. I was working on a couple of early like exchange projects. I was working on a couple of like IP related stuff,
Oh,
and
nice.
then I was very fortunate to partner with my friend from college who's also a degen like me. So he
Oh,
was
okay.
also investing in projects very heavily. He's very into the sort of collector art scene as well. So
Oh,
he's someone who's sort of quite well known. He was also working with a couple of projects sort of offhand as a lawyer, right? So we decided, okay, like let's try and figure something out in this space because it's so interesting. There's very few people, especially in India, doing it,
mm-hmm.
which is why we started sort of Hashdeagle, right? That was how we got into it.
That's such an interesting journey because, yeah, you talked about you people having that kind of uh, moment, right? A eureka moment to get into a certain tech or to be related to a certain tech. I think for me it was more bound by her choice, right?
Yeah.
She's been in blockchain since what 2017.
2017.
So I kind of was inspired by what she was doing, and I kind of saw the whole scene emerging from a Hyperledger Fabric to what it is now. You have thousands of blockchain
Mhm.
protocols out there trying to do kick-ass crazy stuff and trying to change the world around, right? And I truly believe in the democratization of the whole society with blockchain and Web3. I think if it's done the right way, I think everyone can get access to the financial market, as they say, right?
Right.
Although it sounds like a cliche, that is what it is. I think it will democratize the whole society, and it has the power to do that. And that was what was very interesting to me when I started learning about it. And obviously now I'm in that space, and fortunately that's where I met you, people like you, and try to learn from you guys as well. Kamakshi, you want to tell your story of
Yeah,
Yeah.
your
How
so
did you
blockchain?
get into it? I mean, I'd love to know.
I am in this space since 2017. So basically, there was a blockchain consulting arm. I think we've talked about it also. Uh, I used to sell blockchain as a technology solution for
Mm.
different problems,
Okay.
and
So
I
BAS essentially, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
more of a consulting services attached to a tech. And then I worked with multiple projects like Airbus, Boeing. Supply chain back then was a big use case.
Right. Yes.
And then I went to Abu Dhabi municipality, did a land registration use case with these guys.
Okay.
And that at that time, Ethereum was just starting up. So they were talking
Yeah.
about smart contract writing. They
Correct.
were thinking कि contract कैसे लिखेंगे and वो
So you're one of the
scalable.
OGs then, right?
Yeah, I mean scalable है भी कि
Essentially.
नहीं. And we used to really think, we used to trash on Ethereum saying कि ये तो बकवास है, क्या ही कर लेंगे Ethereum team. And we were like very big on Hyperledger Fabric. Then now things evolved,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Mm.
not happening. Hyperledger Fabric is not the right tech for blockchain because it's not decentralized,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's there is immutability for sure. It's just DLT.
Right.
Yeah.
So then moved to Polygon,
Okay.
and वहाँ पे came to know कि यार public blockchains are the big thing, right? These are the people who are solving the problem, public
Right.
Correct.
blockchains.
Right.
And then now working in this another project, Avalanche, highly decentralized, highly scalable, amazing team, and they have a very good vision.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been my journey, and my main goal was there to basically for enterprises to adopt blockchain, and it was never about crypto. So until now, I'm doing this. That's my what is the initiative in this? Not initiative. This is मेरा योगदान है इस industry के लिए that I'm trying कि enterprises should come and adopt blockchain as a technology. And funny thing, even Arjun is in crypto. I call him, you're a crypto guy. We go to we go to events together.
Right.
And if I'm talking to someone who is talking about the business use case, and Arjun comes on like, just go from here. I don't want to be associated with the crypto
She's,
guy
she's
at
done this.
all.
She's actually done
I
this.
always, I be like showing guys, just go from here. Don't
Yeah.
come here. I'm talking to about the blockchain tech
Right, right.
because the moment you talk about crypto, people get scared. They're like, नहीं, तो ये scam है सब कुछ.
सब
Yeah,
लोग का मानना है कि blockchain is crypto and crypto is
yeah,
scam, तो
Exactly.
blockchain भी
ये
scam है,
scam
right?
है
Exactly.
exactly.
That equivalence is very problematic, right? Like
Yeah.
that I feel has to be sort of devolved from each other and it has to be sort of addressed as it is because the tech is very different. Like you were talking about, like what it stands for and like why some of the smartest people in the world are actually getting into it
Correct.
now and why some of them are making such huge bets, right? It's because of the fact that they see something there, right?
Correct.
I
Correct.
feel like it's very easy to sort of set it aside just saying that हाँ सब scam है ये लोग तो ऐसे ही हैं sorts, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So sub
And
scam nahi hai, guys.
सब
The
बिल्कुल
technology is beautiful. You will see
exactly.
our government being so pro blockchain. Every state is doing some initiative in blockchain because
Hmm.
I speak to them
Absolutely.
on daily basis, and land registration use cases, certificate use cases. They're trying to use this technology as good as they can, right? Because this technology provides you immutability of data. That means your data will never be tampered. It'll always be there, so you cannot just go away. Then it provides you decentralization wherein a lot of people can come in and verify your data. It is not basically held by any single server. So this is the beauty of the technology. Cryptocurrency is one use case,
Just a
right?
use case.
It's just one use
Yeah.
case, and because of that, the entire tech is getting defamed. It's become infamous because of
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So
In a way, it's also become famous because at least people associate that technology with crypto.
yeah,
It's just that we
But
have
for the
to,
wrong reasons,
yeah,
right?
for
Like
wrong
that's the
yeah.
reason.
problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the negative, but that's true about any media, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The negative aspects get highlighted more than any positive aspects of anything,
It's more
right?
clickbaity, it's
Exactly.
catchier.
It's all catchy.
Yeah,
It's like TRPs
yeah,
and stuff for
exactly.
TRPs and
And
stuff. So
people
I
are
think,
using this just to earn money.
yeah,
Chota sa short time to fame.
Right.
They put some money in Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu went big,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
like, "Arey
And then
uh,
wow!"
Elon tweets Doge, and then everything
And then
goes
everything
Doge
goes
went up.
straight up, right? Everything's
Like,
green and
come
everyone's
on.
happy. And then
everyone's
when it
happy.
crashes
Suddenly,
back down, they start shitting on Elon on Twitter, right? Like,
shitting on Elon and then
it's great.
shitting on the entire crypto community, man, saying
Yeah.
crypto scam hai. This is
Crypto.
where the crypto scam
Yeah.
has started actually
Yeah.
It
because
is extremely entertaining,
exactly,
highly problematic.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. From
Yeah.
the inside, it's very entertaining, but it's, from the inside, it's also highly problematic, and it's problematic for people who run companies thinking, ठीक है, India से भी users लेके आएंगे, लेकिन regulations पता नहीं किसी को. So a lot of it hopefully will evolve and yeah, people like you are in the forefront of helping with that as well, right? So just diving into the whole regulation bit as well, so where do you think we are at the moment in terms of regulation? So obviously now we've heard from her mouth ki government is very pro blockchain, but
Absolutely.
why are they not pro crypto
Hmm.
from a legal perspective?
Right. So I think first thing I have to address is the fact that people seem to think that there isn't any regulations in India, which is not the case, right?
Correct.
So, like for any business, you have to analyze what sector that business is in, right? Like for example, if you're giving a DeFi product, then it's a financial sector, and accordingly, financial sector laws will apply to you. If you're giving an NFT which is relating to, let's say, like I'm working with a couple of guys who are working on like movie NFTs, right?
Mhm.
Then you'll have to look at things which are relating to that, like IP related stuff. You'll have to look at, the laws, how like rights flow works, all of that, right?
Copyrights
So
and
there's
stuff.
all of that, right? So
Mhm.
sector specific stuff does come down to what your product is used for, right? So that is like the overarching aspect of it, right? So now you can't avoid things like your consumer protection laws. You can't avoid things like the new data privacy law that's come out.
Correct.
If you're collecting personal data, you have to abide by it, regardless of whether you're on the blockchain or not, right? So I think that is like the first point I just want to put out there, right? Apart from that, like we have come a long way, as you were saying. So we've come to a point where, so it started off with like, okay, the first, like the 30% tax on VDAs, right? And now there's PMLA obligations, which are very strict obligations on all virtual asset service providers, right? So you have to register with the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Government of India. So this is the FIU, right? So you have to
Right.
register with them, and you have very strict disclosure obligations, right? So for example, you're trading, like let's say you're an exchange, right? So you
Correct.
guys, for example, whenever you're collecting certain information with regards to transactions, you'll have someone in your organization who is like your principal officer
Yeah.
who will make disclosures to the relevant authorities. You'll have to tell them within a certain period of time what kind of transactions you're doing, what the numbers are, what the transaction sizes are, all of that. Plus, if you have any suspicious transactions, for example, लोग सोचते हैं हाँ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग आराम से हो जाएगा, नहीं होता है ऐसा, right?
It's
The thing is,
immutable.
and the thing is that now they're very strict disclosure obligations, right?
Right.
So you guys will be working with guys who are your market makers, right?
Correct.
So if you know that, okay, if a transaction size is above, like, let's say whatever, like 5,000 rupees
5,000.
for an example, then you're saying that, okay, but if you see, like, let's say a person doing like above 5,000 over like a period of 3 days, you probably know that there's like some, something happening there, right?
An investigation needs to happen,
Right.
basically.
So then the disclosure obligation is on you as an exchange, which you will then tell the FIU.
Correct.
And then the FIU will tell like the ED, right? And now if you start getting into like, the enforcement directorate and all the problems that come with that, once an ED notice comes to you, or you're bajaud basically. Okay?
Right.
It's probably the worst thing that can happen to a business, any
Yeah.
business. I'm not talking about a crypto business. Any business, the worst thing that can happen is like having ED investigation. They freeze all your assets. You're basically impossible for you to do business with
Any
other people,
transaction.
impossible to raise money, impossible for
Right.
you to do
Your life is
partnerships.
fucked, basically.
It's bad.
Yeah. It's
It's a bad
bad.
scene, right?
It's done.
So, I mean, it's like, it's all of these things, right? So
Correct.
now, considering that the obligations on these virtual asset service providers are the same level as obligations on banks, right? So banks have all these reportings, NBFCs have all these reportings.
Correct.
Now, these virtual asset service providers have been brought within the ambit of the PMLA Act, which is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, right? So now it's highly regulated. It's not as simple as before. It used to be that तुम कुछ भी transaction कर लो, कहीं से भी पैसे ले आओ और भेज दो, कुछ नहीं होगा, right? So there's all of this, and of course then you have to do KYC as well, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So when you do KYC, now you've linked your Aadhaar, your
Your-
identity to your bank account,
Correct.
right? So now they know that this crypto wallet, it's the same as having it in a bank essentially
Exactly.
at this point. If you
And
do the
that's
KYC.
where the disconnect, I think, lies, right?
Right.
Because here people are like, who cares whose wallet it is? Like, if you open a wallet, you'll just get a hash or an address, and that's it. You don't know whose wallet it is, right? There's no KYC if you there's no KYC norms or whatever.
I also have one question, right? ऐसा तो नहीं है कि इंडिया में मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग पहले नहीं हो रहा था या फिर पॉलिटिशियन ब्लैक मनी नहीं रखते थे, राइट? ये
अभी
तो
भी
कब
होता
से
है ना?
हो रहा है ना? Just because
Forever.
crypto came, why is this so much scrutiny for only crypto and not for other things? अभी recently हमने न्यूज़ में देखा था, which state we saw the politician had so much money, few thousands of crores यार cash.
Yeah.
Oh, they took
How?
like so many days to even count the cash
Yeah.
or whatever.
And then they do scrutiny on crypto. Come on यार, मतलब $5,000 का transaction कोई कर दे,
Right.
कितना? 4 लाख?
Nothing, which is nothing in the
Why
grand scheme of
is
things,
it?
right?
You,
So my answer to that is because of the fact that crypto, as we've talked about, is unique, right? It's because of the fact that it allows you to transact outside the ambit of the government's thing, right? So the how systems have evolved for like 200, whatever, 500 years as the financial systems, they've evolved, and states have monopoly over currencies, right?
Correct.
So whether it's the US dollar or whether it's INR, which is being dictated by the RBI, right? So, and of course there's a reason why they're evolved in such a way. There's a reason why we have the like trade deficit and all of that comes into the whole economic picture of how a country functions, right? So crypto essentially is an alternative to that existing financial system, right?
yeah.
It's not built on top of an existing financial system. It provides an absolute alternative.
So basically FOMO है कि
The-
गवर्नमेंट को FOMO है
the
कि
countries
हाँ,
are states are scared, they're
Yeah.
terrified, and this is not a conspiracy theory, okay? This is legit,
Yeah.
right? You can go like look at any like Balaji Srinivasan or like Tim Ferriss or anyone who's talking about this, right? So there is a lot of fear that there will be a point of time when when crypto or like whatever these assets will become enough of a viable alternative that like a traditional store, which is your gold or money,
yeah.
are not in fact what people are storing value in,
Value
right?
in, correct,
That is
correct.
what ends
Yeah,
up
and then
happening.
the moment
Yeah.
that happens, government basically falls and lose their money, and
Exactly.
because right now the government is run by the money, whatever
Exactly.
Sitting done
They
and the,
they
yeah.
have control over all of these
all the,
markets.
so they basically, of course, all the governments of the world want control over the money, and that's why they're scared of this alternative way of
Yep.
transacting using the digital payment methods of cryptocurrencies.
That's essentially it. That's how I look at it, right?
Yeah.
So because the government had monopoly over currency, right? So they realized that if you don't have that monopoly and it sort of slides away because of all of these assets, then people themselves will have like financial freedom, like you said, right?
Exactly.
And the ability to like move, like see, like let's say give you an example of someone we've worked with. So like they've had like their accounts sort of like frozen, right? Because they had enough of the money in crypto, they were still able to like make, and even though they did nothing wrong, right? Like they were very legitimate business, all of that, but so they have like these certain reserves in their company in crypto, and which they declared, right? So now you're supposed to declare your reserves as well. So that's also another regulation which has come out with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So they declared all of that, and they were still able to do some transactions to keep their business running till this sort of got like resolved, right? So this is
Right.
also something that is one way of looking at it, and one way of like providing access to the people when let's say the state is against you or whatever, right?
So what do you have to now tell, as we three have gone to multiple events,
Yeah.
and I think because just before this podcast we were talking about, guys, this is few guys which they come to the event randomly, and then and they will just brand or market that they are, over the counter cash providers
Yeah.
for the crypto exchange. Like if you can basically give your crypto to them in their wallet, and they'll give you cash immediately, and they actually are uh, people who are actually flaunting it in the
Yeah.
events openly. So what do you
They're
think about?
licensed as well,
Yeah.
apparently. So
Right. I mean, they aren't licensed.
I don't
They really aren't
exactly.
licensed.
So I don't know how you can
No.
license
No
yourself
one,
as
firstly, no one in India
How
is
can you get
licensed.
exactly.
license? I don't
Yeah.
know.
No one in
In
India is
can?
licensed.
No
No,
one
no,
is.
they don't exist. The only thing that exists is what I've talked about, right? Like you just do your registration with the FIU, right?
Right.
It's not a license, right?
Okay.
There's no crypto license which is given out in India to date, right?
Right. So it's
Dubai has
just a
it. India does
registration.
not have it, right? So it's just like you just tell them that okay, we're doing this. They're like, okay, fine, you disclose to us, bus. It's not a
Acha.
license, right? So these guys, I mean, I'd say just like don't do this, right? Like just like pay your
Matlab,
taxes, man. Like just
exactly.
Yeah,
do it.
just
Just pay
do
your
it.
taxes. Don't do any of this.
Exactly. All this is to you're helping the system
Yeah,
actually.
and
You're making the system even worse.
right.
You're putting the government will be now more alert and
Look,
saying that यार ये सब हो रहा है तो हमें इसको बैन ही कर देंगे because for the
Yeah.
government is very easy. They'll say ban it.
मुझे लग रहा है आतिफ, आफ्टर दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन किसी ईडी वाले बंदे ने सुन लिया, दिल में लाइक कौन कौन सी इवेंट्स हो रहे हैं इंडिया में, एक बंदा
वो भी आ
कोई
जाएंगे
प्रोजेक्ट का
मतलब।
टी शर्ट पहन के भी लुकिंग
एक
अराउंड
टी
क्या
शर्ट और
चल
एक
रहा है,
बिटकॉइन हैट पहन
हैट
के आ
पहन के
जाएगा
वो भी आ जाएगा
बस
और
एक डिस्गाइज
खत्म
विल बी
फिर
रनिंग अराउंड कि
या
इसको पकड़ती हूँ पहले.
पहले जो
the
जिसके
youngest looking ED guy is going to be put on the task to go to all of these conferences,
No, there'll
figure
be
out
some
who's
guy
going to be,
hired to do this job.
and
and
also
वो तो
there'll
टफ
be
वैसे भी स्वैग देते हैं इवेंट्स में,
हाँ हाँ
That's
तो
it.
तुम आ जाओ उसमें
ये
स्वैग पे
swag
पहन लो
पहन लो
बस
हो गया
और
and
घूमो
अंदर आ
पूरे
जाओ,
इवेंट में, that's it.
पहले
और
दिखेगा
वैसे भी
कोई
फ्री बियर मिलता है तो
हाँ
सही है
Yeah, that's true.
पहले दिखेगा कोई एक्सचेंज का टी शर्ट देखेगा
हाँ,
अच्छा वो एक्सचेंज वाला है उसको पकड़ो पहले
हाँ.
फिर दिखेगा ये ओटीसी वाले
OTC
इनको तो पहले पकड़ के जेल में डालो, इसकी बात बाद में सुनो, पहले इसको जेल में डालो.
oh
No,
man this
absolutely.
is
I mean, it is
crazy
problematic, right? It's because of people who try and like flout the regulations that like legitimate businesses are having such issues,
That's a
right?
problem.
So I'll give you an example, right? So we're working with a couple of crypto exchanges, right?
Mhm.
Some of the top crypto exchanges in the country. So one of the biggest issues they face is that they have liens and freezes over their bank accounts,
Oh
right?
God, yeah.
Because what happens is तो कहीं से ट्रांजैक्शन हो जाता है, ठीक है, और लोगों को पता चल जाता है कि वो स्कैम है, व्हाटएवर ना, एक वॉलेट से आता है दूसरी वॉलेट को, दूसरी
Right.
वॉलेट से तीसरी वॉलेट आता है, and then finally that third person who has no idea that this happened before, he just got the money from someone else, tries and does like a transaction with them to get it out in INR, right?
Mhm.
Then the cop will call up these exchanges and tell them that, listen, so we have an idea that possibly this is there, I want you to freeze this account, and this will be a 5,000 rupees transaction, they'll want you to freeze a 1 crore account. What happens to
Imagine.
your liquidity,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
This is such a big issue which is being faced by all of them. So
Yeah.
so now these guys basically, half their job goes in going to police stations one after the other across the country, telling them कि please यार हमने कुछ नहीं किया, हम
हाँ,
legitimate
हमें
business
पता ही
है,
नहीं था.
हाँ
right?
ये सब
Like
पता नहीं
please
है
unfreeze our bank account.
Hmm.
अगर 5,000 के लिए आप 1 crore की bank account पे freeze कर रहे हो, तो how
Doesn't
can
make
we
sense.
how can we
How
do
can
And
a
ये
business?
लोग
business
usually
run?
पता है कौन होते
Business क्या
हैं?
करते हैं?
People like our dads.
People like our dads who
Our
do
dads मतलब
transactions.
हमारी डैड जैसे कि एज के लोग, उनको
हाँ,
बेचारों को पता, उनको लगता है कि
हाँ,
किसी ने, आप अकाउंट, मैं आपका वॉलेट खोल देता
right.
हूँ, मैं अकाउंट में, अंकल आपका ये कर देंगे, आपको पैसे मिल जाएंगे.
Hmm.
बेचारे सोचते हैं सही है.
Naivety
Naivety.
yeah
That's the
That's true.
problem, because
there's
there's no awareness, and I'm glad that you are spreading that through your
to
courses,
your
which,
tech
sorry, not
startup right I
courses.
think
Yeah.
this
So
is a very important
yeah.
step that needs to be
So
taken
what we're doing is we're in fact working with one of these startups, and we've come up with a handbook
oh
for law enforcement agencies. So this
Acha.
handbook is going to
is
talk about exactly what crypto transactions are, how hashes work, how like how exchanges work. We've mentioned all of that. That the exchange is doing, right? So what we are doing is we're talking about all the legal aspects of it. We're saying that okay, actually don't go stop them. Go look at what the Evidence Act says. Look at what IPC says. All of these clearly say that you're supposed to follow these patterns. You can't just go knocking and tell them. There's like you have to get certain permission. There are all of these. Just because it's crypto doesn't mean this doesn't apply to
Correct.
you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So there's all of this. So then we're saying that okay, a lot of cross-border transaction happen, right? How do you get this info? So we tell them there is procedures. Like the Home Ministry has procedures set out. You have to send them letters, and then they send it to the respective agency in the other country, right? So we've come up with the comprehensive handbook. It's about 50 pages long. We're
Okay.
going to release it sometime in the next like 1 or 2 months,
Okay.
right?
Right.
And we're going to then go and give this to every law enforcement agency in the country, right?
That's super.
We're going to go to the ED, we're going to go to the CBI, we're going to go to the police stations. They're already doing this in a couple of police stations across. They're just doing it as like a course to like
Educate.
to the primarily to the tech wing of
Ajay.
like the tech
Cyber,
branch of
cyber
cyber. Yeah, that
cell.
was the word I
Yeah.
was looking
Right,
for. The
right.
cyber cell of like places like Bangalore are still a little better because the cyber cell in Bangalore, for example, has a lot of people who are very sort of familiar with this. They're very good, right?
Ajay.
But when you talk about other cities or like places which like tier 2, for example, it's very difficult for you to go, and I don't blame the cops there, right? Obviously उनको यार
It's
यार
इतना
समझ ही
education.
नहीं है ना.
नो एंड उनको कितना
No,
प्रॉब्लम्स है यार,
exactly.
उनका उनका कुछ हो रहा है यहाँ पे, इतना
Right.
ये मर्डर हो रहा है इनका, ये रॉबरी हो रहा है,
वो
दे
पाँच
यू थिंक दे
हजार
ब्लडी
किसी ने
केयर
चुराया,
अबाउट,
उनको क्या फर्क
yeah, you
पड़ेगा
think
यार?
they bloody care about your
Yeah, they
crypto
won't.
exchange coming
Cryptocurrencies.
and crying to you or what?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we need some system,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
I mean, they've got better things to do, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Right?
And also, have you noticed just one more topic came to my mind is that all the founders who really want to build,
I was going, yeah.
who really want to build blockchain companies or blockchain projects, crypto projects, etc., they all moved out to India.
Yeah.
Do you think the environment here is not conducive enough? What is
Mm.
stopping them to
But
build in India?
yeah.
What's happening?
It is contradictory, na? Because you said regulations hai.
Yeah.
Hey, huh?
So are we saying that these founders are scared of these regulations, or they're unsure of these regulations and then they are going to places like Dubai? Because it's not like Dubai, हाँ ठीक है, tax नहीं pay कर सकते हो जो भी है, but
Right.
they won't ask you to pay your income tax and stuff. But in the end, it's not like they are not scared of the implications of crypto falling into wrong hands and stuff, right? They are also worried about it. So
Yeah.
why people are choosing places like Dubai?
So the reason is because they're more clear about their regulations, right? So India has regulations, but like I mentioned, they don't have your licenses for crypto exchanges and stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
So for example, Dubai has the Virtual Asset Authority of Dubai, which is called the VARA. So they give out licenses, right? So if they have like 7 different type of licenses. So if you're a crypto exchange, you have this kind of license. If you're a metaverse service provider, you have this kind of license. If you're a DLT provider, you have this kind of license, right?
Hmm.
So it's very clear there, right? And they have a system where they actually encourage people like this, right? So they have these free zones where you can go and you can set up, and it's like done in like a week. And it's
Yeah.
like, and they're calling people to come there because they recognize that once their oil runs out, they need to sort of transition, and then they see this as
Yeah.
as like the
As an
whatever
alternative.
next big thing they
Next
want to
big
get in money. Then of course there is what you mentioned, right? Of course the thing is that even a lot of Indian businesses, even non-crypto businesses, why do they
Correct.
go to Singapore? Why do they go to Dubai? Because of
Yeah,
tax, right?
tax thing.
Tax, yeah.
Indian taxes are
But
just
but
not
Singapore में
conducive.
tax तो ज़्यादा है ना, मतलब
No,
it's
so the corporate, so a lot of companies like startups, for
हाँ,
example, a lot of them that start up in India, if you notice,
correct.
they will then flip their structure to Singapore. Why do they do that? Because it's better to get investments in Singapore.
That is
Acha,
They
okay.
have 7%, almost 7% flat corporate tax, which
oh
is above a certain like level, right? So the first like so much like how much ever dollars are like exempt, and then all of that, right? Plus, it's just that all of these countries are trying really hard to bring out like regulations which are clear, right? So it's in India, they like, let's say it's like level 1, these guys are like level 3, right?
Right.
So like EU, for example, they have come out with a recent regulation. It's called MiCA, right? So MiCA is going to be like the foremost regulation in the world when it comes to um, virtual assets and like regulating all of this, and they have very clear obligations. They have very clear setup. They have very clear like how the thing is going to flow and all of that, right? So obviously, as a business, your consideration would be, I mean, first, of course, is the market, right? But secondly, your consideration would be going somewhere where you aren't scared that something will happen which affect your
yeah,
business,
every
right?
step you don't feel like हाँ मैं एक कदम रख रहा हूँ but फिर
Correct.
government is behind me, right? It
Absolutely.
shouldn't be that case
Yeah.
wherein you're scared to
Yeah.
even take a
Yeah.
one step positively.
Correct.
So that I think
Yeah.
creates that negative
Like even
mindset as
just
well.
setting up, right? So we've had people like reach out to us who are like fairly large crypto exchanges based out of the EU, right? And who want to set up in India because they understand India's market size, right? But even just to set up, you'll have to, do so many things. You'll have to have directors here because you can't just do it with foreign
Correct.
directors.
Mm.
You'll have to have all these guys that I mentioned, like, your principal officer, your designated director. Then you'll have to make sure that you go talk to. I'm so sorry, go talk to the agencies there, make sure that everything is like all right. There's all of this, right?
Hmm.
So just setting up takes so much of momentum initially, and you have to jump through so many hoops that it's very not conducive to the initial sort of momentum, right? Whereas if you want to like do tokens or whatever, then I mean, I've helped people sort of set up in Caymans and BVI.
Yeah, correct.
It's
Yeah.
damn easy there, man. Like you just go, you set it up, you do like one, two structures, and then you can do it. Getting bank accounts is a little difficult, but there are systems in place, and even they are coming out with. It's not that they aren't coming out with regulation; they are coming out with regulation, but they understand the size of this market, right? So there, even the government officials that people go and meet with there know that okay, this is something that brings us revenue, right? So
Yeah.
that I think is the difference.
I think
Also, there's
even
one. So retailers के लिए ना, who
Right,
usually in India want to buy, trade, sell, swap, whatever with the crypto,
right,
they're always not very clear, and also nowadays very scared कि पता नहीं कब गवर्नमेंट का थोड़ा सा चेंज हुआ एंड
exactly.
देन दे फ्रीज द
Mm,
कंप्लीट द एक्सचेंज इटसेल्फ लाइक ओके एक्स को कर दिया, क्यू कॉइन को
correct,
कर दिया,
correct.
ऐसे दो तीन और एक्सचेंजेस जिनको
Mm,
बिल्कुल बंद ही कर दिया,
mm,
बिनांस को कर दिया, बिगेस्ट वन,
right,
राइट?
right.
सो हाउ डू यू what do you take on this,
Mm,
and how do you think a retail investor should be comfortable and feel secure while dealing with crypto?
right,
What should they do?
right, right. So, no. So before that, I will answer your question, but I'm curious to know: does Avalanche's team also sit out of Dubai?
No, we don't have. So Avalanche is an American project.
Okay,
So they have the entire team in New York.
okay.
I mean, of course, we have the work from home, so they've
No, I
people
mean,
remote.
yeah, there's
distributed,
work
Yeah.
from
but it's an
home.
American
Okay,
company.
But I
We
think
are
it's
actually
registered
regulated, registered.
in the
So
US.
we
it's
comply
registered
to,
in the US.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we're registered. We comply on all the
Okay,
legalities, regulation wise. Everything is sorted.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but still, there's yeah. Coming back to the topic of like setting up, I didn't think they're setting up an office in India soon, right? In
No,
terms
not
of
not
having
yet.
a registered address in India soon.
Not yet.
Not yet, I
Yeah,
guess.
not
Mm,
yet.
okay.
For instance, even Polygon doesn't have, no?
So
So
no,
they've just
even
moved.
there,
They've just
they
like all
closed
their
their
top
office.
managements just moved to Dubai,
Yeah,
right?
the
That's
founders
what's
are in
happening.
Dubai. They closed. They had an office. They closed it.
Exactly.
Founders moved to
Moved
Dubai.
to Dubai.
So they have a lot of their back-end sort of developers still based out of India,
Yeah, yeah. They
but a
have
lot of
business
their like
development teams
all
also.
their key
Yeah.
managerial persons are just
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
out of
Dubai.
Dubai now, right? Yeah.
That's true
So
with most protocols if
yeah,
you look at
yeah,
it, and even some exchanges,
yeah.
right? So we know.
Because they're just scared, man. That's the problem, right? The problem is that they're just scared that tomorrow, whatever, some
Yeah,
idiot or
just
something
like
comes after you and
recently, whatever happened with the 9 or 10 exchanges
yeah,
that were
yeah,
just blocked
mm.
because they didn't comply to the FIU rules
Yeah,
that you were talking
exactly.
about.
Right.
And big names, right? You
Yeah,
have like Binance, which a
which is
lot
the
of
biggest.
people have
Yeah,
put
Binance.
money in,
Yeah.
and I am part of several groups,
right,
obviously, right? And
right.
everyone's question was, how do I move my assets now from Binance to
Mm,
any other exchange? Probably a
mm,
Coin DCX, which is
mm.
more compliant, I guess, and it's I
Registered
think
with
it's registered
FIU.
with the FIU
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
We'd put
it
out
was
a,
slowly.
as soon as this happened, we'd put out a tweet and explaining, okay, like this is what the FIU thing is, and like these exchanges aren't things, so be a little careful, move it to CoinDCX and all, and then we got like a lot of replies, and then Sumit from CoinDCX also like retweeted us saying, hey guys, look, this is exactly what it is, like no, this is no noise, this is only like signal, and check this out, sorts, right? So essentially, what we said is this, right? So if you are if you are a organization which is doing crypto like exchange, then you are supposed to register, right?
That's it.
These companies have not registered. Therefore, it's very
Yeah.
simple that the government can just say that you block the addresses, right?
Address.
It does not mean that they're illegal in India,
Correct.
right? What
Yeah.
it means is that we will not give you access because you haven't registered. So tomorrow, if they come and they registered, they'll be
They'll
like, okay, you
yeah,
could possibly. I mean, I
exactly.
don't know how the government
Yeah.
thinks, but my guess is that
They'll
they say
allow
that
them
yeah,
to
yeah,
function.
it's
That's
very
true.
simple. You just
Yeah.
you register, right? You want access to the Indian market, which, as I remember from the last statistic, at least is the biggest market, right? By
I think
numbers,
by
not by
numbers,
not
yeah.
by trade
Yeah.
volume,
Yeah.
but by numbers, I believe the Indian market is
Is
still the
biggest.
biggest
Biggest,
crypto
yeah,
Biggest,
market.
yeah,
yeah.
it is still, it is
If
still.
you want access to the
100%.
biggest market, you be here, you register, right? It works the same way as any company. Why did Modi tell Elon that we're not going to set up construction units
Tesla.
here for Tesla setup?
Yeah,
He said, you come to India, you set up the thing here. We're
correct.
not going to give you access to the Indian buyer
Exactly.
market
Without
unless you
going
give
through.
us the. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
the logic works the same way,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Essentially.
100%.
Yeah. So I mean that's it. You just
Okay.
like you come, you register. Once these exchanges register, then you get access. If you're someone who's listening to this and you think that then do it over one of these. Do it over CoinDCX. Do it
Yeah.
over
Hmm.
CoinSwitch. Do it over Geotis. Do it over these exchanges. Right? They're
Yeah, do it
registered
over.
Indian exchanges. They're based out of India. Their guys are sitting in India. They have a track record of doing it for so many years. You know that they're not going to run away, right?
Right.
It's all KYC compliant
Yeah.
anyway, and
it-
there's nothing to
exactly.
hide.
Exactly.
And there are people who'll help with
Yeah, they're running very
taxation, and
legitimate
they're
I
like,
think the
businesses.
nutshell thing is that guys, you want to buy crypto, you want to sell, you want to do whatever.
do trade, yeah.
Just declare it, dude. Don't do this illegal stuff. It will not help you. As Atif mentioned, and I also told you, this is a technology where your transactions will be registered or will be there on the blockchain
Ever.
forever. Nobody can
You
delete
cannot
it,
do
guys.
anything with it.
So please, not today. Even before this podcast, Atif, you were telling us, if not today, and probably after 10 years, if somebody opens the books and they see this, after 10 years, you may come in the
They'll
limelight.
find
Do
the
not do.
transaction hash
Yeah,
for
do
sure.
not do it.
So this is what I always tell. So a lot of startups, a lot of founders come to me and they're like, अरे यार अब क्यों रजिस्टर करें थोड़ा पैसे आने दो फिर करेंगे रजिस्टर
हाँ.
अब तो ठीक है मतलब चलता है
Yeah.
the problem is this chalta attitude, right? I was like, let's say that okay, nothing, whatever, you don't register now, you do your transactions. अब कुछ नहीं होगा 6 महीने में कुछ नहीं होगा 1 साल में कुछ नहीं होगा let's say tomorrow let's say you do really well, let's say you become the next Sandeep Nairwal, right? So for those who don't know, he's the CEO
Founder of Polygon.
Polygon.
He's one of the founders
Co-founders
of
of
Polygon,
Polygon.
right? So let's say you do become that big and you become like a unicorn, right? Then there will be a point of time
100%.
2, 5, 10 years down the line when they will look at all the books.
Exactly.
Right? Whether it comes from the perspective of an investment that is looking into doing like an M&A into your company, or whether it is one of these CBIED, right? And because everything is on the blockchain, there will be a record of you not being
Every
compliant.
transaction,
Every
every
single thing.
single
तो अब
transaction.
मत देखो ना कि तुझे आज 10,000 रुपए सेव होंगे, अब देखो कि 10 साल पहले कितना like problem होगा ना 10 साल
Correct.
बाद.
10 साल बाद.
Correct.
That is
Exactly.
वो
the
तो-
the payoff is very very different when you think of it long term as
Right.
when you think of it as short term, right?
No one sees the long term game at all.
No one cares.
सबको
सबको
आज
लगता है कि
चाहिए,
आज
सबको आज
आज पैसा बनाना है, पैसा बचाना भी आज
Exactly.
है.
आज
उनको
भी
लगता है
आना
कल की कल देखेंगे. तो ये एटीट्यूड इज
हाँ,
रॉन्ग.
लेकिन वो है पैसा बनाना भी है बचाना भी है.
हाँ.
Like that is possible only in Dubai, man. You have to
Yeah.
then go to Dubai. Tax कोई कुछ पूछेगा नहीं. Go
Yeah.
there, have fun, take all the money, come back to
Yeah.
India, do whatever you want with
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah.
No one's gonna
That's
ask.
Yeah,
what
then
these
live-
founders are doing, right?
Live more than 6 months outside India.
Yeah.
Yeah.